What's up, you fools? Matt, ESC United, your favorite Eurovision channel. It's a big day here in Tel Aviv as the second half of semifinal 2 is rehearsing for the very first time. We got some big names in there, including the current betting odds favorite, Duncan Laurence Arcade, rehearsed for the very first time. We have, I'm sure, a lot of thoughts about this one, so I figured let's talk this through and see where we go from there. Now, the staging, I'm going to go first on this one, is very... So I'm going to explain, because if people on the live stream were like almost upset with me, but I would need to be clarifying that. So the staging is simple in that sense. It is basically him sitting behind a keyboard, not a piano really, behind a keyboard the entire time, and there's a lot of camera, there are fairly distant shots, and the only thing that's happening is basically during the last course, I think, or does it start during the, I think when the ball comes in, a light ball that is not that big, but it's big enough, I guess, and it kind of ends up in front of him, like further out from the piano, or the keyboard, I should say, and then he looks at it, and then it turns off and disappears. So there is a symbolic meaning behind it, and I'm sure people will explain to me what it is, but to me it seems like, okay, I don't know what that's there for. And that was my concern. Like, I'm not quite sure what all these things mean and what they represent. I try not to have a whole lot of expectations as far as like the staging is concerned. Personally, I would have preferred Duncan to stand rather than sit behind it, but that is also probably a personal preference, because it feels more enclosed and less free. And staging, I think, would have been a little bit more interesting. That being said, the song is beautiful, and the colors that they use is very appropriate for the song. The blue lights, and then at the very end they have these lasers that come in, actually, that go with the blue ones. I actually wish they would have used them a little sooner to add a little bit more flavor to it, but the song is a fairly quiet song. And I do think that they also rely heavily on audience participation. It's crazy as it sounds with that song, because we have these strange audience shots closer to the end in particular. Right now it's empty, we only see chairs, but at some point there will be people sitting there. I think they're planning on having like people use their cell phones and do the lights and all of that stuff. So I think that is ultimately what they're going for. So I don't think we have necessarily seen the whole feel of the song yet, because right now it feels kind of like it's a little empty. But that being said, it's still, to me, the one to beat. I still think it's such a contender, and I like the song, and there's just a few things that stood out to me. How about you?
So you say empty like it's a bad thing, but empty's what the song's staging should be. It should be minimal, it should be empty, it should really bring out the sense of desolation and isolation that the song is really trying to evoke. So I think I was a little disappointed coming in, because I had a different idea of what they were going to do when I saw the props coming in. But now that I think more about it, you know, the only thing I would say that they should change is I would like to see him stand behind a microphone versus being behind the piano. It almost, like, I feel like he could really emote a lot better standing up than versus acting like he's playing the keys on the piano, because we know he's not playing. You can't play live instruments in Eurovision, so you might as well take advantage of that, because there's a point where at the breakdown, he starts kind of emoting with his body language, and just, I feel like if we were behind that piano, he could really emote more. Like, and I think that's something people really got into during the concerts when he was doing the preview parties, and you really don't see that as much. But it's first rehearsals, there's a lot of time to make improvements, but I think there's a good blueprint there for something that could potentially keep itself as the favorite.
Yes. And keep in mind, when I say empty, I'm not talking about awkwardly empty. Of course, the song itself is about, you know, the isolation that you're talking about. But to me, it's, what I'm referring to is, yes, the piano, and that he's sitting there, and that makes it just him, like, in that box. And then the ball is floating over him further right.
The ball's a wasted prop right now. They have to figure out how to integrate the prop. What I thought was almost going to happen was that the ball was going to spin around, and the illumination of the ball was going to really light up his face and really just emphasize him being in this really dark place, with maybe this bit of hope popping in. But you really don't get that. It's just, you see the ball for a second, and then there's a shot where the ball turns off when it goes far out. So they're still tweaking what they need to do with that ball. And then, you know, this is a part where I think we really got teased by the press talking about blue lasers, laser show, and all we saw at the end were blue lasers fanning out at the end. So it wasn't really what we expected when they say a laser show. Yes, there were lasers involved, but no, the lasers weren't used in the manner we thought it would be, and that's shame on us for imagining something more than what they anticipated, or something different than what they anticipated.
Yes. And I just want to also go back to the point that you made earlier about, I agree with you with the standing and the ball, it seems used, because when I say empty, it would have, for me, made more sense when he was standing there and the ball was closer to him, and he looks up to it, or reaches for it, or something like that,
The light going against his face, yeah.
Some kind of, not interaction,
more
but
dramatic.
yes, something like that, because otherwise it just seems like a use. But we also, as you pointed out, there could be a level of, we had wrong expectations, or there is still more that they're working on, because it happened before, that there's still something coming that we didn't see today. So kick everything we say with a grain of salt, but overall...
We didn't see that, like Bulgaria 2017, we didn't see the actual images show up until the second rehearsal, if I remember.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, I don't think we saw the full rehearsals with the images that were showing up on the screen until the second rehearsal, so there may still be more.
Yeah. And I'm still very hopeful, and I love the song anyway, so the last thing is, what should they focus on the most for the next rehearsal?
Figuring out that ball and how he interacts with that ball. I mean, it sounds silly to say it without the context, but they really have to make that lighted ball somehow play a role in the staging. And right now, it's just there.
Yes.
And it's limp.
Yeah. And I agree with that as well. And I'll say, if you bring lasers, take advantage of maybe a little earlier. Maybe there's something else going on, but it seems like when you bring lasers and do it at the very end, it seems like a wasted opportunity to me. I think they could have done a little bit more with it a little earlier on. But that is just my thoughts.
I honestly wish I hadn't known about the lasers at the beginning. And maybe that sort of biases my view of it. Maybe the first-time viewer of Eurovision watching it for the final for the first time, seeing hopefully the Netherlands in there, which I think will happen, will be very impressed by this and not even think about, oh, I thought there were going to be a laser show.
Yes, that is true. That is true. It's a very good point. So many things to take into consideration. But let us know, how did you feel about the staging? Leave your thoughts below in the comment section. I would love to hear from you as always. I got to go. Have a good day.